Hey, welcome to your day off. My name is Corey, and I'm the host of this here podcast. Hey, today I don't have a co-host; it's just me solo, and it definitely makes me a little bit. I don't know if the word isn't really nervous necessarily, but I'm so used to just like throwing it off to somebody that it makes me a little, I guess, uncomfortable. It's kind of the best way to say it. Listen, we got a lot going on. I'm super grateful for the stuff that I get to do in this industry, and not really sure when I'm going to drop this. However, this next month is kind of crazy. We started the podcast in 2018, and it seems like all the opportunities come at one time. Like on September 15th, I'm in Chicago. I get to moderate a panel there, which I'm so grateful for Mariah and Beauty Gives Back for allowing me to come in and do that again. That's this will be our third year doing it. It's such a great and worthy organization. They're raising money for people that are in like hair school, and they're helping them with with getting through hair school. They're giving out donations or scholarships for people to again get through hair school. And they do a lot of stuff in Chicago. That's where they're located. So that's exciting. I get to do that. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Beauty Gives Back, a lot for that. Also, huge thank you. So on the 19th through the 22nd, I'm going to be in Nashville with my man, Ryan Whedon. It is the Mob, the Masters of Balayage Hero Retreat. I'm so looking forward to that. I can't wait to experience it. I've heard so much about it over the last few years. I'm really happy kind of where our industry is going as far as like when we're doing live events. I really like the ones that are kind of almost like a TED Talk kind of thing. So last year I did Serious Business, and it was like all day of TED Talks. I'm also told that the Mob Hero Retreat, it is similar in that sense too. Yes, there's some hair going on, but also there's some knowledge being dropped, and I just love that opportunity. And then the end of September, I will be in Ibiza, Spain, which I never even thought about Ibiza, Spain. Like I was even going to be able to go there. So it was never like on a hit list kind of thing. But now that I'm going to Ibiza, I'm really, really excited. I'll be there with Milkshake. Milkshake they're actually huge. It's a liquid line that in Europe, apparently they took off and they exploded and they're really big. But here in the US, they kind of puttered a little bit, I guess a decade ago when they first launched. But now they're doing like this rebrand and this relaunch in the US. So they're allowing us to come out to their European celebration day. It's like, it's their Redken thing or their Matrix thing or whatever. It's like their big celebration of the brand. I'll be there doing that as well. So I'm sure the next few podcasts that you hear coming out will be representing all these groups there. So really looking forward to it. Thank you everyone that has given me the opportunity. Just super, super appreciative of being able to stand up or sit in those rooms. Really excited. I know it's kind of boring probably to talk about, but I'm just really excited again about having the opportunity. I think so many times these things take time, and it's really cool to kind of to be there. I don't know even where I'm going there. However, so on today's podcast, it's one of my dear friends. I'm certainly a podcast friend. And that is Ranting Money, Misty Jayne. Misty started like, I guess a few years ago, she just started really coaching about like money and how as an industry that we should be saving and spending and trying to disconnect like emotionally from money and just to kind of make sense with money. So I'm excited to chat about her, and she's actually launching a new program that you can be a part of as well. So Misty, man, welcome back.
Thank you. I know you were like, there's no co-host. I was like, we'll just co-host together.
I love it. And my co-host today is Money Misty Jayne. What's up, buddy?
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Thank you for being. I mean, you sat in on a podcast not too long ago with coincidentally with Mr. Ryan Whedon when we were talking about the Hero event.
Yep. That was very cool. Very cool. I wish I could be in Nashville. Nashville's a fun city.
What we're doing there that's pretty cool. We're hosting a red carpet. And years ago, Tony and I did a red carpet at Naha. Let me tell you, when you don't have producers or anything, it is a really, really hard job. Not that I'm playing the world's smallest violin, but you get about 30 seconds with people, like even if you get that long, to be honest.
Yeah.
And like I just remember like going like, hey, what are you doing here? And they're like, well, I've been nominated 25 times. You're like, yeah, I probably should have known that. It's just like, it's a lot of that. So what Katie and I are doing the red carpet at Mob. What we decided to do, Misty, is we're going to gamify it. So it's going to be kind of like pick your own adventure. So we wrote up like 52 questions. Some of them are absolutely absurd. Some of them are like right on like hairdressing. And then some of them are like absurd and hairdressing. But we did 52. So we're gonna hold a deck of cards, and as people pull a card, whatever card they pull, that's the question they're getting. So it's kind of like pick your own adventure. But again, we have like 30 seconds with them. So what can we do really, really quick, have fun with it, and then move on to the next one and continue that same energy. So that's kind of the idea that we came up with.
I love that.
It's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, and everyone loves games.
That's what I'm saying. Are you going to love it on a red carpet though? Is my sweat? Are you going to love it? But I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah. You'll be good. You'll be good. You'll probably know quite a few people, so that helps too.
But yeah, I mean, we'll know a lot of people there, but it's never the ones you know that you worry about. It's the ones you don't know or that you should know that you worry about. It's
That's
easy with
true.
the ones that or however these things work. But
Just make sure the
listen,
microphone is on because I did some quick interviews at Premiere this year, and I think 3 of them, I forgot to turn on the microphone and didn't realize it until I got home.
yeah, well, that's pretty important.
Yeah, I learned. It was a lesson.
It was a lesson. That was you're like, oh, that great content I got. No, I didn't.
Nope.
All those great conversations I had. No, I didn't.
Nope.
That's crazy, dude. So what's going on? What are you up to?
Oh my goodness. It's coming to the end of the year, which is wild to me. What am I not up to at this point? I mean, I am really trying to spread the word, right? Financial wellness being self-care. That is like the goal. I'm seeing so many conversations around, economy and money and pricing and all of the things. And I'm like, we're not having the right conversation. I'm here to try and like bring up the conversation that is going to be more helpful than bitching about everything that is going on outside of ourselves.
What is the right conversation? I mean, what conversation? What question should we be asking? What conversation should we be having?
What is our relationship with money? Period. That is the conversation, right? Like if you would think about money as a person, what is your relationship with it? Are we ignoring it? Are we saying bad things about it? How are we treating it? Are we just throwing it away? Like if you were in a relationship with a person that was doing these things, what would you do? Right?
Yeah.
So I think the conversation, instead of being what outside of ourselves can, help feel financially secure, and not even financially secure, because I could talk for hours about how we feel about money and what's happening with our money is actually affecting things we don't even realize in the salon, in our lives, our decisions, all of the things. But having these conversations of like, what can we do as an individual instead of pointing fingers constantly, at everything else, because I think we can do a lot more than we think we can, but people don't like change, which is another
Which is
rant
another
I could
bit.
go on.
And we should. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, like, you brought up this broad kind of like, spectrum of people's relationship, but isn't that a relationship with everything?
Yeah, for sure.
That's our relationship with everything and how we kind of like dissect that and stuff. But I definitely think like the problem that I have, and I think this is a common, I set it up as problems. I mean, it's a big problem, but almost always the conversation around money is regret. I wish
Mm,
I had started earlier. I
yep,
wish I had done that. I wish like it becomes that. I wish I didn't put everything on the credit card. Now I'm paying 24% interest on everything I put on it, and with that regret also becomes the guilt associated with said regret. And
yep,
then kind of how do we work with that? I mean, I'm not going to lie, man. Whenever the kind of money comes up, like it definitely shuts me down a little bit, because I keep thinking like, well, yeah, shit. I guess I should have started when I was 22. And by the way, when I was 22, everybody told me to get started. You know
right.
what I mean? But I didn't do it. So now here I am, not 22, and I'm like, man, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Things would have been a lot different and a lot better had I started. So it's really, for me, again, the conversation usually is around some kind of regret or shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah. Well, there's 3 stages, right? And awareness is the first stage. And a lot of people get stuck in the awareness, right? The shoulda, coulda, wouldas, the judgment, the shame, the all. I'm aware that I have debt. I'm aware that I should have saved more. I'm aware that I could have done things different. We get stuck there instead of moving on to the next phase and finding the acceptance, because it's awareness, acceptance, and then it's a decision. So if we're stuck in the awareness, you could do that all day. And that happens constantly. Think about the conversations that you're having all the time. Oh my God, everything's so expensive. Oh my gosh, like the person on the street is charging this much for haircut. Like you can get in the awareness and it constantly be this conversation over and over and over again for years and never do anything about it. So having this acceptance, let's just use debt for an example,
Mhm.
right? Well, I'm aware that I put myself in debt. Well, I'm judging myself. I'm shaming myself for it. When we start accepting it, okay, I did it. I accept it. I have debt. What do I do now? Right? Then it becomes a decision. So I think, yes, awareness is important, but the acceptance is even more important. And not putting something around it, right? It's not good or bad or indifferent. It is what it is. Now, what are we going to do about it? And we put so many stories to it, as we were talking about earlier, or so much like negative or positive, when sometimes it's just neutral Now, how do we move forward? So I think that needs to be more of a conversation because, again, you can sit in awareness forever, forever.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I remember certainly a few years ago, like for whatever reason, like I mean, I think the easiest way and the most is that like if you get like a big tax return or something,
Mhm.
like my goal was to spend that as quick as I possibly could.
Mm,
Or to pay off those credit cards that I rang up, before. And, I had this realization at some point in my life. It's like I'm always going to have debt in the sense of like I'm always going to have a house payment. I'm always going to have that kind of debt. And that, and I know like maybe it doesn't make sense logically, but I'm always going to have debt, but I may never have this, but I need to use this chunk of money not to pay debt, but to actually pay my future.
mm,
Right. So instead of taking like, let's use like $5,000 as the example. If I get $5,000 back from the government for like taxes or whatever, again, like how can I buy a TV or how can how, I was trying to spend it as much as possible, but at some point it was like, you know what, I'm always going to have this debt. Why don't I put this $5,000 away and now it
mm.
starts paying me in the future as opposed to like buying something that has no value.
Yeah. What switched for you? Like, when was that like? Was there something that happened or just like a thought?
Again, I just think it was like, you buy enough TVs,
Mm,
and you're like, okay, this hasn't brought me any value at all. You pay off enough credit cards, you're like, oh yeah, great. I got $5,000. I can pay off my credit card or I can pay into my credit card or whatever that story is. And then at some point you're like, but I'm still left with nothing,
mm,
and so there just comes this point in my life where you're like, I'm still stuck with nothing. Had I had that $5,000, which by the way, somehow that credit card gets paid.
mm.
Somehow that whatever gets paid. Somehow that mortgage gets paid every month. But I don't have to take this money that I have right here to spend it. I need to put this money away so this money pays me instead of me paying them.
Yeah, interesting. Yes. Well, I think there's a lot of different factors to things like that, right? Because I hear all the time, well, why should I pay off my debt? Right? Like, what's the point? Like, if it's 0% interest, what's the point? And really, I think it's a personal preference, right? I'm not somebody ever to be like, you have to do this. You should be debt free. You should do this. No, what is happening for you right now? Because a lot of the times, the conversation, very specific conversation that I remember, where she had like couch payment, 0% interest. Like she had like three different payments, right? Of these 0% interest things. And then she had this big goal, right? And she was like, well, if I can pay these, why not? But I have this big goal, but stuff keeps happening. Like, for example, I think something broke in her house or like a car accident, like stuff where financially it was like affecting her big goal. And
Mhm.
I think we have to look at it a little bit different that when we have these debt payments, if you will, that's still payments that if you just pay it off, right? And then you don't think about it anymore, right? Like, yes,
Shut
you
the door, so to speak.
yeah, exactly. So instead of like having the 0% interest payment that we're constantly having to pay and we're constantly having to think about, if you can get rid of it and then kind of move forward, then the money that you would have been paying towards it can go towards the big thing. It can go, towards what you were talking about, investments, whatever that
Mhm.
looks like. So I think just kind of looking at where you are in your life, right? If you're in a place where you're just skirting by, right? Like you don't feel financially secure. What can you do to feel financially secure? And a lot of times it's getting rid of some of your bills.
Yeah.
you know? And even with talking about like mortgage and always being in debt, it's so interesting to me because when people are like, "Well, I'm debt free." And I'm like, "Oh, do you have a mortgage?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, but that doesn't count." And it's like, again, we're assigning good or bad. It's still debt.
Yeah.
And it's not good or bad. It's a neutral tool. Debt is just a tool. That's all it is, right? And I think it's so interesting when people are like, "Well, my credit card debt is bad, but my house payment is good." And it's like, "Well, what if it was just all neutral? Why does it have to be good or bad?" Right? And that's where the emotion comes in, right? We're attaching these stories to things and then we judge ourselves for it and we shame ourselves for it. And at the end of the day, that's why I think it's important to look at the relationship you have with it, right? Because even as simple as, well, I got a big sum of money and I have to get rid of it quickly. Well, why? Right? Does looking at a big sum of money in your bank account make you uncomfortable? Like, what does that bring up for you? Because it's never about money, ever.
No. You're right. But even that is switch, Misty, right? Like yeah, there's a lot of money in the bank. How quickly can I get through it now? And what switch is like, no, I like seeing a big sum of money in the bank because that says something else. Yeah,
Yes.
to me, that's how I can sit on money for a long, long time.
Yeah.
you
Have
know?
you always been able to do that?
No. No, no,
Yeah,
no, no,
so
not at
so
all.
that's the real question is, like, what was happening in your life? What changed in your life that you are now able to do that?
Because I felt like, and I still feel like a loser, like shoulda, coulda, wouldas, again, like it's really like, again, it, it, over my entire career, I've made nice money, you
Mhm.
know. But when you're making nice money and you're making good money and you're making a better living, listen, hairdressing gave me a better living than I could have ever like imagined that it could have. When I got into hairdressing, it was like I could make a living, but now to like make a living and to have, some kind of whatever, I'm going on a rant. But but basically like to make so much money when you start counting back and you're like, "Oh my gosh, like I've made a lot of money in my career." If you look at like, 5 years or 10 years and you look at it all as one sum, because that's all money that came through you. But then like at the end of that 10 years there's literally zero
Right,
there. It made me feel like a loser. Like what did I work all that hard for? What did I work that for if there's nothing that's there? If there's nothing in the bank account that shows something other than zeros? Does that make
right.
sense? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So you just got to the point where you knew you needed to make a change.
In the sense of like, yeah, just it's so important to sit on money and not to spend money. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
I was I think it was Shaquille O'Neal. He talked about like how to create generational wealth, and it was like you spend 25% of it and you keep 75% of it. Like I've never been in a situation where I could do that necessarily.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but there's something to that. Is like if the game was, instead of spending as much as you can, and the game was to save as much as you can, how different our lives would be. And I think that almost all of us have that opportunity.
Yeah.
But certainly when you're young or whatever, like there's social acceptance and stuff,
Oh, I
right?
just wanted stuff. And not even
Same.
stuff. Not even stuff. I wanted experiences, right? I love to
I'm
spend
actually
money.
okay with experiences like that. Like,
I wanna go on all the vacations. I wanna go out to eat. I want like, that's where my money always went, is like, I want to go do the things, which
mhm.
is much more expensive than just buying shirts.
Yes, yes, and no. You just buy a lot of shirts over 10 years.
That's
If
true.
you didn't buy all those shirts over 10 years, how much money would you have in 10 years to go on these experiences, right?
That's true, yes,
Although I will
exactly.
tell you this, it also comes down to value, right? Because like when you go out to like a really expensive meal and it sucked, what a waste
Yes,
of money that was. You
yes.
know what I mean? Like there's also places around the country, and I've been fortunate enough to visit. Like I'll use Loro in Texas, Loro. Man, the food is so top notch and so inexpensive that you're like, oh, that was the best. It's like a $30 meal, and it's like
Oh, yeah.
so good.
Dude, some of the best meals are off of, like, food trucks, and
Oh
fight
yeah,
me, like that, like but
yeah.
that's the thing, right? Like, that was my turning point. So, like, back in 2016, we were in, like, $48,000 in debt, and we were blaming everything outside of ourselves. We were blaming our income, we were blaming taxes, like, just literally all of the things, right? And what we sat down and realized, because I had my moment, I had my something has to change. I can't just keep complaining about everything outside of myself anymore. Like, I have to look in the mirror. I have to find that awareness in a different way, if you will. And we were
I'm
just
starting with the man in the
in the
mirror.
mirror. Don't make me sing because you know I will.
Come on, girl. You ain't got no Gwen Stefani in you.
Put on a full performance. But that was my problem is we realized is we were spending over $1,000 a month going out to eat. And when I asked myself, what did we even eat last month? I didn't really remember. It wasn't memorable. It wasn't value-based spending, right? It was just habit. And I think a lot of times we just get in the habit of things where we end up kind of screwing ourselves instead of actually finding that awareness and being able to go, wait a minute, I actually have shit in the refrigerator, or I don't need a DoorDash for an extra $40 on top of the food I'm already buying, or whatever it may be, right? For me, that was the eye opener because if I had $1,000, for however many years we were doing that, I mean, that was probably like 18 and on. And I had that in the bank, like, I could have done such amazing stuff, but instead I was just unconsciously just, like, filling this void of hunger, my gosh, convenience, right? Instead of going, "Wait a minute, I actually have, like, goals for my future, and I wanna feel secure. I want, if I get a flat tire, to have the money to pay for it and not literally make myself spiral about it," right? Because think about, like, a financial setback is so stressful. It is so unbelievably stressful and it affects everything. You get a financial setback and then you get a client that cancels or no shows. It's horribly stressful. There's no peace in that. So being able to like look and go, okay, I can actually do things differently. I can actually have money set aside for shit like this. It literally just brings this calmness. And it doesn't have to, you don't have to be a millionaire or a billionaire to feel that. Like you just have to find some control in your money, period.
I loved how you framed it as peace because I think that that's like that's valuable there.
Mhm.
You know, is the peace that it brings you. You know,
Yeah.
to have extra in the bank, or I hate the thought of like extra money because I've never felt extra money ever. you know, like, oh, we had extra money. Like I don't even know what that means. You know, but I love framing it with peace. That's what it brings you. And let me tell you, certainly as you get older, that's all you're going to seek in life is peace.
Yes.
There's enough of the other stuff that's going on that if that peace brings peace, not just financial peace, but it brings like life peace, and it
Yeah.
brings like you know whatever peace looks for like for you. It's all tied around, not all of it's tied around money necessarily, but it's easier to find when that part of your life is controlled.
Well, that's exactly why I got into life coaching because like 2 years into doing this where I was helping people with budgets and debt payoff plans and things like that, and I was like, this isn't just about this. Anyone can look this up. You can find this information anywhere. You can chat GPT it, you can get a budget app, whatever. There's a reason why this isn't helping people still, right? And it comes down to self-worth. We tie so much of our self-worth around finances, around, productivity, how much money is in the bank, all of the things. And it quickly turned into more life coaching than anything else,
Mhm.
just with money behind it, right? Because I do think that you can see a lot of things in your life that need to be adjusted through a money lens because it literally touches every single aspect of your life. It touches how you react to things, it touches the decisions you make, period. So if you can build that relationship differently with it, then it can translate into so many other things because I felt peace in my financial journey 3 months into the 2 years of paying off my debt. I didn't have more money. I didn't have my debt paid off. Like nothing technically was changed in my bank accounts or in my business at all. It was the actions that I was taking, it was the perspective that I had changed. It was all the things that were going on mentally was more of an impact in finding that peace than actually putting money in the savings account or paying off all of my debt. Now, granted, once I
Walk me
got
through that.
there,
Walk me through that though. I mean, what was that switch for you? Like being was it 48,000, being 48,000 in debt, and then like,
yeah.
how did you make that switch to where like you felt at peace with it?
Yeah. Actually, and it's funny because you and I were just talking about control, right? But I started to feel like I was in control of that aspect of my life, right? Again, when I was pointing fingers and it felt like the money was literally just slipping through. And in my head, I was like, well, I just got to keep making more. So I got to keep
Yeah.
working more and doing all these things. It was actually like pulling me away from what I actually wanted in my life because I wanted more time with my family. I wanted to feel good at work. I don't like hustling. Like I'm a one person in my chair at a time, give them all my attention kind of person. And I wasn't doing that because in my head, I had to make more money to feel better financially, right? So when I had this moment of we got to do something different. This isn't working. We had just had a baby. I wanted to be home with my kid. I didn't want every time he was sick that I would like be freaking out because I had to move all of my clients and how am I going to pay my bills because I was in a commission salon at the time too. And so we sat down and I just made a plan. I made a plan. I had never made a plan before. I thought I made plans,
Hmm.
but really it was just these, old school you have to make a budget,
Right.
ideas. You're not allowed to do anything. And it was literally just a list of bills. And in my head, I can't spend anywhere else because that's going to make me, financially screwed forever. And what happened was that didn't work. I mean, 2 weeks in, that doesn't work. Like
Right.
I want to go out to eat. I want to do things. I want to live my life. And so it was like one or the other. I was on one side of either I have to go all in or not do it at all and just keep pushing myself in debt. So what I realized is that there is an in between. and there is a way to like actually figure out how to live your life with this value based spending, right? Doing things that actually like get me to where I want to go and I still get to enjoy life because it's not about not spending money, it's about not wasting money. How much money do we waste? How many subscriptions do we have that we do not need? How many times do we walk in Target and buy a bunch of shit and then it goes in your closet and you have no idea what you bought, if you're going to use it, still has a tag on it 6 months later, right? It's like the little things that we have to pay attention to. So we just started paying attention. That's literally all we started doing. We made a plan, we started paying attention.
How did you keep each other accountable and
Mhm.
not like start like a family war?
Okay, I love this topic because this is important. So, first of all, let's talk about talking to your significant other about this.
I have
Because
rules. We can talk about those too, but go ahead.
rules?
Yeah.
What are
Rules of
your rules?
engagement. I think everyone needs
Oh,
rules of engagement.
yeah. So this is first of all, you cannot attack somebody, right? So like say my husband comes home from work and I'm like, "Hey, why did you buy this, this, this? What is this charge? What is this? We're trying to save money, right?" What does that cause? Immediate defensiveness.
Of course.
I mean, I would get defensive. Don't tell me what to do, right? I work hard. I
Yeah, we,
deserve
we
it.
just talked about control. We know where you lie in this, Misty.
Oh, yes, I know. Don't even get me we can talk about that
We
more
started.
actually. But I love money dates. Like that changed the game for Pat and I. My husband's name is Pat for anyone listening. That changed the game for us because we would fight over money. Like it would get defensive because we didn't know how to talk about it, right? So with money dates, we would set a specific time on the calendar where we both knew that on this date and time, we are going to sit down and we are going to talk about money. And it didn't necessarily start as like budgets and savings and stuff like that. It started as money stories. What did you see growing up? What did I see growing up? Why do you feel this way about money? Why do I feel this way about money? So we started to actually understand each other and get a little bit more curious
Mhm.
about what was going on when it comes to money. And then I realized that he just doesn't value some of the stuff that I value, and I don't really value some of the stuff he values. And I can't tell him that you can't go get your hunting license because he loves to hunt, right? Like, and he can't tell me that I can't buy Lululemon every once in a while because I love my Lululemons. So it's like we had to realize that this was a partnership and not a dictatorship. It
Uh,
wasn't I'm going to
don't be
take
a
care of
dick.
the money and you need to do exactly what I say. And that changed the game. So now we can still, I mean, this has been, gosh, how many years later? This was
No.
2016. Yeah. God, is it 9? It's
Mm.
crazy. All these years later, like, we can talk about money easily now because we put these things in practice. And, it's a partnership. And
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part because you don't always wanna hear it, but sometimes you need to, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but that's it, right? I mean, that's respecting everybody, really.
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
All right, rules of engagement. You ready? You never have a conversation when you've been drinking is rule number
Yes.
one. We don't drink, so that's not a big deal in our house. But at a point, like
Mhm.
when you're drinking or when you're under any kind of substance or whatever, like we don't have it because you want to be respectful of the big picture, which is the
Yep.
marriage, and all that stuff, and a long life together. Two, we never have tough conversations after 9 p.m.
I like that.
Because at that point, if you kind of think about like all like your drag outs, they usually almost always happen at night, right?
Yeah.
And so, and you're sleep deprived, you're all the other things that are there other than
And you don't
having,
wanna go to bed mad.
and you don't want to go to bed mad. That's absolutely true. So, that's a rule of engagement. And the next, which is most important, I think, and I just kind of learned this. No one ever told me about this, but when you're having an argument or disagreement, once you circle back, the argument's over. Because every
Mhm.
time you circle through, it gets uglier every time you circle through.
Right. Then you're just repeating yourselves over and over again.
And you're also like you're defending your position more so than maybe you needed to, or now you're defending your position with your ego, and there's no longer, once your ego is connected into an argument, there's no longer an end result. It becomes a
It's about
principle
being right.
argument. It's about being
Yes.
right.
Yep.
Exactly. So once we circle back, like, okay, it's over. I'm not
Mhm.
engaging anymore. It's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what else are we going to talk about? because now
Mhm.
we're just going to keep repeating the same thing. And every time you repeat it, it gets uglier and uglier.
Yeah. That's actually we were talking about Andrew Carruthers, that's something that I
Love
learned
it.
from him, in his communication classes is that a conversation is 50-50. It's a partnership always. And if it turns into you going into a conversation with an like, a specific agenda of an outcome, then it needs to kinda be reevaluated, which I think is very true because I'm better, but I definitely would go in with, "All right, I'm gonna talk him into this today."
Yeah.
And that doesn't go over well.
No. Then he wants to hunt you.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So, yeah. It's interesting, I think for me and my husband, he knew we needed to make a change as well, and we just did not know. We didn't have the information, like, we just didn't understand money management. Like, we saw just horrible financial relationships growing up, and we saw some good ones, but they weren't, like, directly impacting our lives. It's like I have, like, aunts who have a lot of money and, like, you know what I mean? Like, things like that. And having a lot of money doesn't always mean you have a good relationship with money, just saying.
We've all seen that.
Yes. So yeah, so that is kind of how and we also, like, kept our goals visible, which I recommend. So, like, our
Mhm.
goal was we were living in a small townhouse, our goal was to move, our goal was to pay off our cars, like, we paid off everything but our mortgage, and we put it on our refrigerator. We, like, posted it for 2 years. I didn't care who saw it. I talked about my journey with everyone when I was going through it, which was also a big turning point because I never talked about being in debt before that. It
Sure.
was very much like, okay, because I was in acceptance. When you're in acceptance, you're not worried about people judging you anymore, right? So, I posted it, I talked about it, and that helped, right? My clients behind the chair were, like, cheering me on. I posted about it on, like, Facebook at the time. I had people cheering me on, and then we had it on the refrigerator because food was our shit, right? So, like, when I would go to the refrigerator to go, "Oh, we have no food, let's go out to eat," I would see our goals.
Make it in a line.
Yes. So I tell my clients now, like put a post-it on your credit card or, do something that just reminds you like, "Hey, do you want this meal or do you want to move and have a bigger place for your family?" Like, you know what I mean? And sometimes the meal won. If it's a rainy day and we don't want to go nowhere, we're ordering food. And sometimes it didn't. Majority of the time it didn't. But then it turned into the decision, right? Where I could actually look at it and go, okay, this is our plan. These are our goals. What decision is right now, right? So again, that awareness, that acceptance, and then that decision, it went a long way. Look in the mirror. And I mean this in two ways, right? Like really like think about what kind of things you say about money, what you feel about money. Look at how you're judging other people about money, right? Because that's going to say how you're judging yourself. So that's the first like look in the mirror. Second, look at your statements. Like, look at them, like, not just the balances. Like, where are you spending your money? Because I can guarantee you are spending your money in places you do not even realize or how much you're spending in places. I had no idea we were spending a month on food. Like, no idea. I knew we
Yep.
went to Mexican on Fridays for $50 and, a nice dinner on the weekends for over 100. Like, I knew that we were spending. I did not know we were spending $1,000. Like, that was probably the biggest eye opener for me because in my mind, there was no money, there was no more money to put towards other things. No, we just needed to make more, make more. And when I saw that, I went, oh my God, this was a choice that we made. We didn't have to go out to eat. This isn't a bill. This is, we can control these choices.
Yeah.
And I could literally starting next month have an extra $1,000 sitting in my bank account if we don't make this same choice.
Boom.
So that is for anyone listening, if you just wanna get started, that. But it sucks. Like, it was a, "Fuck, I did
I
this to me."
when I hear you, I kind of go, it'd be really nice, like if you like just literally made two categories, right? Like expenses you can't avoid,
Yep,
your mortgage, the
yep,
gas in your car, the if you still have a car payment, your car payment, like those are the ones you can't avoid. And then what are the expenses you can avoid? And what does that
yep,
look like? And how like and I don't necessarily think that I don't necessarily, oh, well, I spent $1,000 at a restaurant. Like it's not really like you're not getting $1,000 back because maybe it's going to cost you $250 in food to make it home or whatever. You still have to eat,
right,
right? But
yeah,
how can you minimize that quote unquote damage or that that repeating whatever, but like again just make two categories, right? Like,
mhm,
have to spend or I chose to spend.
Yep, exactly. That's the first thing I do with all of my clients. I call it assess the situation. That's the number one thing. And it's so interesting because that's where they have these aha moments. Because again, and if you look and you say, I spent $1,000 on restaurants and I don't regret a single cent of it, that's very different. Assessing your situation doesn't mean you have to cut shit out. Like I have them assess their situation and then I have them literally like journal what is happening for them as they are doing this because that is where we need to pay more attention, right? So like everyone's like, "Oh, don't get the latte, don't get the latte." If you love the latte, if the latte brings you joy and the latte does something for you and cutting out your lattes just like feels like a horrible thing, keep the lattes. There's going to be somewhere else that you can make different choices. Like I always say put your weed in your spending plan, right? Like, and people always laugh, but I'm like for real, like the whole idea is that pay attention to where your money is going. And if it brings you joy, if you like to throw five, say this all the time, you like to throw $5 out the window because it brings you joy, fine. Just make sure that you're not spending more than you're making. And if you have goals, sometimes you do have to cut back on some things, like, period. You just have to. Like, I'm also, there's not this quick fix. Like, if I had 14 years of money mistakes that I had to fix, 14 years. I'm lucky that it took me 2 years?
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of times people give up too soon, right? They're like, this is hard. This is difficult. I'm not going to do this. I might as well just be, living in financial stress for the rest of my life. And it's like, but
No
that's
peace.
not the peace. Like the peace is so much more important. And I promise you, the night that you say, I'm not going to order DoorDash might suck. The next day, you're fine. You're glad you made that choice. Trust me, because that was me.
Well, you brought up something too, about the lattes and stuff, and like,
Hmm.
yeah, absolutely do it. But also, and I don't know if this equates or not, but kind of like when you start working out and stuff, like all of a sudden, like that sugary drink doesn't taste as good. So
Exactly.
as you once you start putting some of that money away and you're seeing your bank account go in the other direction, the opposite direction, then maybe that latte doesn't taste as good, or
Well,
maybe
that's the thing.
the value of that thing changes.
Well, that and, like, you're gonna be there's discomfort in your life, period. Which would you rather have? Do you want financial discomfort, which really sucks, and again, really touches on
And
so many aspects of your life, or do you want the discomfort of having to, like, make a meal one night, or whatever that looks like, or not buying leggings for a month, like, in
right,
my case.
from Lululemon, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, so I think that that is where we have to actually look in the mirror. And why are we doing these things? I talk about this one client that I have because this story is so funny to me and I love it. So she would get coffee every day. And I like to have my clients, why are we spending the money on things, right? So what is the purpose? Like for me going out to eat, convenience, I don't feel like cooking, I like food, right? That was the purpose. And so she would stop and get coffee every day. And she gets on the call one day and she goes, I had an aha moment. She said, I was thinking about why I buy this coffee. And she's like, it's not because the coffee makes me happy or it's like the best coffee in the world. She goes, when I go in the salon, I have to wash bowls all day long and I don't want to wash a coffee mug. So I go and get coffee so I can just throw my coffee like thing away when I'm done with it. She's like, I went and I bought bulk like to go coffee stuff and I've been making it at home ever since. And I'm like, that right there, like it's simple and people are like, oh, well, it's just coffee. $7.40 a day is $10,000 a year. So the tiny steps, everyone thinks, well, I have to win the lottery or I have to make, thousands and thousands and more dollars to, pay off my debt or get to my goals. No, you don't. You have to take tiny, tiny, tiny little habit shifts, tiny ones every day, tiny, just towards where you're trying to go and see what happens.
Do you subscribe to some of the techniques like I know like a snowball technique,
Mm.
to where you pay down one bill, you pay off one bill, and then you take the money that you used to pay off to that, and then you put it onto another bill. So now you're doubling that payment or whatever that is. Do you subscribe to that type of stuff?
I subscribe to whatever you're going to stick to. So actually in my program, I have a spreadsheet that you can put in all of your debts. It's a debt payoff plan sheet. Like literally it does it for you. You put everything in, you put your interest rates, you put how much your balance is, and you can toggle between snowball, between avalanche, or between other. And it just shows you what the plan is going to be. My thing, I use the debt snowball. That is how I got out of debt because I like gratification. And the debt snowball gives you a pat on the back, like, every time you pay that you pay if you're listening and you don't know what the debt snowball is, just a quick sum up, it is paying your lowest balance first, and then as much as you possibly can on it, and then paying minimum on all the other ones. Once you pay that top one off, you take all that money you were paying on the top one and you pay the next one down. So you're getting the quick fixes. You're not like throwing just a little bit of extra money at everything and it feels like nothing's moving. You're actually making something move fast
Yeah.
and then working your way down.
It's also really nice too, as far as like even like that achievement when like let's say you $200 on your credit card bill or whatever,
Mhm.
and then like you actually like cut a check for $3,000, right,
Yeah.
to pay it down that month. Like there's something that feels really good about that. Like, oh, yeah, I got you. You know, you think you got
Yes.
me, I got you. You know, the kind of thing. So
Exactly.
there's something very satisfying about paying way way over what your monthly payment is for that. That just feels good as well.
Well, and it's gratifying. So yes, I love any method that is going to work for somebody. If you're going to stick to it, that's the method for you. Period. For me, that worked for me because I like a pat on the back, and it felt like we were knocking them out quickly, which was great.
But when we talked about earlier too, I mean, that's the mind shift too, right? Like now, instead of looking at it like this is a never ending cycle, now you're
Mhm.
actually seeing light at the end of the tunnel, and there's something super satisfying about that. And like you said, you did it in 2 years. You spent like you paid off 50 grand in 2 years. Like that's quick, right?
It's
So that
very
that means
quick.
that you had $25,000 per year to
I gave myself a raise, essentially. Now, granted, me and my husband, I say me because it's easy, but
sure.
my husband was absolutely a part of this, just to be clear for anyone listening. But yeah, we essentially had a $25,000 raise once it was all said and done. And I will tell you what was actually really interesting. I love the law of attraction. And what was so fascinating is when we started actually taking the steps to feel better about our money, take control of our money, all of the things, whatever you want to call it. Money just started coming to us. My husband got a raise out of nowhere. My favorite story, our electric bill, we didn't have to pay for a whole summer. We kept getting like these $4 bills, and I called them and I'd be like, hey, like this obviously isn't right. Hey, this isn't right. And they're like, well, send someone out. Never did send someone out. They sent someone out, got a letter and said that it was their fault and like we didn't have to pay it back. Like
Wow.
little shit like that we wouldn't even have noticed if we weren't paying attention, right? We would have just spent more of it. So I do believe in the law of attraction too. Like you get back what you are working towards. And if you are working towards treating your money better, money is going to take care of you, period.
Love that, man. That's awesome. So what do you got going on? I know you have some programs coming up and all that good stuff. What can we chat?
Yes. Yeah, so I'm doing a free class and depending on when this comes out, it's going to be I believe October 6th. And it's why your budget keeps failing you and what to do about it. And essentially it's I like to work with in-demand stylists. I like to work with stylists who are making money. Period, right? Like they know how to make money. They're not struggling in the salon. They just don't know what to do with their money when they get home. And they feel like they're working their butts off and still live paycheck to paycheck, right? So, this class is going to help them figure out what they can do to feel more in control with their finances. Because actually, every single one of my clients that I've worked with have tried before, right? They listen to the Dave Ramseys and the restrictions. And I personally just don't think our brains work well with that as hairstylists. We like validation, right? I think about it like this your client comes in, they're happy to see you, you make their hair beautiful, they hand you money. We are validated numerous times a day. There's not a lot of validation in restricting yourself when you get home with your finances. And I shut down. No, thank you. I don't want to do that. Right.
Yeah.
So, helping stylists realize that they can find this peace in their finances and there are things that they can do outside of these like traditional financial guru conversations. I think it's empowering. That's what I'm trying to do. So
That's
yeah,
amazing. Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. How can they sign up for that? How can they find that? How
Yep.
can they do all that?
They can find me on Instagram at underscore Misty Jayne underscore. I can give you the link. I don't know if you
And
want to
Jane is J A.
Jayne. Yep. And that's going to be a free class and they can DM me. Again, I can give you the link. I don't know if you want to put it in the show notes or not, but
We'll definitely put it in the show notes. I mean, but of course, most of this is viewed on Instagram, so
yeah.
can't put the links up in there, but
Yeah,
we'll
find me
definitely
on
tag.
Instagram. That'll be easier probably.
Yeah, underscore Misty Jane, Jayne. That's
Yep.
awesome. Missy, thank you for hanging out with me, man.
Yes, thank you as always. I love
Let's
it.
let's make definitely chat about your podcast, Starting Messy, which by the way I think is the best name of any podcast ever. But I love the Starting Messy podcast name
Thank you, thank you. I love podcasting, as you know.
for real. And then and they can listen to that, and you have a lot of money advice and stuff on there as well.
Oh, I have all it's not just money either. I have all kinds. I have interviews, I have money, I have personal development, I like literally all the things. Rants.
Rants,
Yes.
ranting, money, Misty Jane.
Yeah, go back a couple weeks in my rant about what I do not think hairstylists should be pissed off about. It's a good
Oh,
one.
really?
Oh, yeah. I can tell
Oh,
you. I mean, AI pictures. Like, people bitching about AI pictures kills me. I have had clients give me pictures of their dog's ear hair
yeah.
because they liked the color. Like, it is our job to consultate and communicate on why they like this picture. Let's stop being mad about AI. Unrealistic expectations in the
Hold on, hold
salon,
on. I'm gonna stick on AI for
it's
real
not
quick.
new.
Yeah, yeah. So, but it's funny because if you go back, like 2018, 2019, the chatter online was all these Photoshop pictures and stuff. And kind of like my position then and my position right now, honestly, is kind of the same when it comes to AI is that at what point do we stop creating art, right? Like
Mhm.
art can happen in Photoshop, art can happen with AI or using AI, like, so at what point do we like say that to me it's just like it's a bad thought process, not bad like they're bad people necessarily, but
Right,
there was a time where you had no medium and you just had to use your head, right? Like, if you're like Michelangelo, you just brought out a paintbrush and you painted what was in your head. Well, no artists use that anymore. you
right,
know they sketch it out, or they Photoshop something to be able to put on there. I just, the way that we use, well, like for instance, I'm sure Mozart thought Prince was cheating, but that doesn't
right,
make Prince any less of an artist,
right. I
right?
mean, I think that that comes down to the same conversation of pointing fingers outside of ourselves. Like why does somebody photoshopping their picture online bother you? Why?
Yeah.
Right? Like
Well, because they're bringing
why
it in, and it's an unwanted expectation.
but again, it's like the same thing with AI. It's like that's a consultation issue. Like if you are getting angry because your client is bringing you an AI picture, like why don't you figure out how to figure out why she likes that AI picture? You know what I mean? Like, and
What
it's
about it? Yeah,
yeah, and it's like the unrealistic expectations are never going to end. I mean, we had the unrealistic expectations when there was books with
fair.
people's faces. Like those horrible haircuts are so funny. But, you know, still has to be a conversation. You're still going to have Sally that's going to bring you in, a ponytail that's a foot thick that
Hmm.
has four hairs on her head and say, "I want this." Like it doesn't matter how it's presented.
Presented
So,
that's fair.
yeah. So
All
my
right. So
whole rant about
what's
that.
number two on your rant?
Number 2, what was number 2? Number 2 was it pricing? Was it bitching about salon pricing? Other people or bitching about how, other people run their business in general. Again, they all have the same underlying message of, like, let's figure out how.
Let's turn the camera around.
Yes.
Starting with the man in the mirror.
1,000%. Why is this triggering you? What is this bringing up for you? Why are you judging these people? What is it bringing up inside of you that you need to do better? Because I just truly believe that we as individuals just need to do better for ourselves
Mm.
and fuck everybody else.
I mean, yeah, I subscribe to that.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely subscribe to that. That's awesome. Yeah, definitely go back and listen to that. I'm actually now I'm intrigued. I think I'm gonna go back and listen to
Oh
it as
yeah,
well.
go. I got spicy.
Oh, I like that. How
Yeah.
long is it?
I think it's 15 minutes. The solo ones are way shorter than oh yeah, it's just
Time
me
and a half.
going.
It's like 10 minutes, man.
Yeah, yeah, you can 1.2 that thing.
Oh, I definitely. Are you a 1.2? At 1.5.
1.5 is too fast
Anything
for
more
me.
than 1.5 is too fast for me. But I definitely 1.5.
Yeah,
To be honest, I don't even hear it anymore. Like, I don't hear that it's fast
mm,
until music is playing. And then when music is playing, I was like, "Oh, this is okay. Yeah, I
something's
guess.
off.
Yeah, exactly." Like, wow, oh, that doesn't sound good. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I'm a big fan of 1.5 or 1 point whatever, just because our consumption hours are so limited that it
yes.
allows me to consume more at 1.5, at 1.2, or whatever. I'm actually doing this talk I'm kind of putting it together that you know the old adage, you are what you eat. Well, you know, the modern version of that is you are what you consume.
Absolutely.
You know, and I've made a real effort the last couple of years is only to consume stuff that serves, you know. So if it doesn't serve, I'm just not consuming it because I don't want the space for it. You know, not
Yeah.
even that I don't have it, but I don't want it. It's why I don't engage in politics. It's why I don't engage in many, many, many things. And I'm very conscientious about what I consume. And again, that can mean like, you know, even like a reality TV or whatever, that not to give it a bad name necessarily, but there's no, I'm not getting anything out of it,
Nothing.
you know, except like it'll make me feel bummed out or, you know, that kind of stuff. So I only consume stuff that I feel is worthy or that's serving me, you
Yep.
know. And I find entertainment, it's not boring by any means, you know, and I don't really find learning boring either. But so whether it's a podcast or a book or whatever, I just like, I honor those consumption hours because I don't have a lot of them. But again, a time and a half for most things. I can't listen to Russell Brand a time and a half. He talks way
Too
too
quick.
fast anyway.
Yeah.
My gosh. I almost have to slow that guy down a little bit. But you know, but for the most part, that
Yeah.
it's that, you know, you
Yeah,
are
I'm the
what you
same.
consume.
Yeah, 1,000%. And we don't even realize how much it's affecting us, like what we're consuming.
I was thinking about this, like having a conversation with a guy that worked at the airport and he was, you know, like sweeping, you know,
Mhm.
like, and
Yeah.
I assume, and I don't know, it was a 3 minute conversation, but like I assume that was his job. You know, he sweeps every night, you know, for like 5 to 8 hours. He was a young guy wearing earbuds, and you know, you ask him like, you know, how you doing? Great, you know, how's the job? Boring, as you would imagine, you know,
Mhm.
somebody would say. And then he had an earpod, and I go, you know, what are you listening to? And you know, he was just talking like random music. It was, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. It was just it was on the thing, and I kept thinking like, so if he works 8 hours a night 5 days a week, you know, that's what is that, 40 hours a week or something? And like,
Yeah.
could you imagine like the stuff you could learn?
Yeah.
You know, you could learn like 3 languages a year. You know,
Right.
no judgment to this young guy. You know, don't take it as judgment at all, but just like the opportunity, you know, opportunity never knocks. That's an old adage. You know, like opportunity knocks. Opportunity never knocks. It's never
No.
knocked in my life, but it certainly whispers.
Right.
You know, and part of that whisper could be like, just think of the stuff or the education or whatever I could like, if I could consume, you know, good podcasts or, you know, like you talked about, you know, money or this podcast or, you know, you're just consuming good information and you have all
Yeah.
that time to do it. But it seems to me kind of like a waste to have like, I guess it kind of comes down to the whole conversation that we're having. You know, where do you put your value? You know,
Right.
and that's an opportunity to put the value in yourself as opposed to like putting the value in, you know, some your iTunes list or whatever.
Well, it's interesting too though, and I don't know if you're cutting this off yet because
I mean, I was trying to, but we just started chatting.
'cause now I have thoughts.
Yay. Ranting money, Misty Jayne.
Well, this is something else I like to talk about, and this actually has nothing to do with money, but just, personal development in general, right? Like we consume, we're constant. A lot of us, I know me, I go through phases where I'm constantly consuming, a podcast. Like I'm constantly learning, and then I find myself in a place where I feel lost because I have all this information and it's overwhelming and it like freezes me up. And what I've been talking a lot about lately is how sometimes we need to turn it off. We need to take breaks and we need to hear our own thoughts because we're consuming so much that we can't even find the answers within ourselves, right? We're looking for creativity everywhere else besides in our own mind and our own bodies. And sometimes if we can just turn it off, we can actually find the answers and implement all the shit that we learn because you're learning like 20 things and then you're overwhelmed with what do I even like implement now? But learning makes us feel like we're doing something even when we're not, right? Because confidence is built on accomplishments. So, like, we can learn all day long and fill our brains and consume all of this information. But if we're not doing anything with it, what's the point?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with you though.
Okay, let's chat.
Well, I mean, I mean, on one point, you're absolutely right, right? Like you get to a point where you can kind of like stalemate yourself. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? But that knowledge is always there. You know, maybe it wasn't ready for you now, but
Right.
maybe in 5 years it's ready for you, or you're ready for it.
That's
Right.
true.
So then you have that knowledge. So you're still building your knowledge library
Right.
there, you know. So, but I think also, and we'll go back to that.
And
And even when you're learning, you're putting a lot of pressure on where to put it, and sometimes it's just about the learn. You're
Right.
putting this barrier up against yourself, saying like, okay, now I know it. Now what do I do with it? You know,
Right.
actually, this is interesting, and I don't know if makes sense or not, but it makes sense in my head, so we'll discuss it. Is that this was my separation from politics? It
Mm,
wasn't the stuff that I disagreed with. That's easy. I disagree with XYZ, but it was
right.
when I agreed with something. Now, what do I do with that information that I agree with? I've got to go find somebody and tell them how much smart I think I am because I agree with this. And when
Mm,
that started happening, then I had to sit back and I go like, I don't like that at all.
the echo
I don't like
chamber.
that's what it is, right? So like then that's kind of when I was like, you know what? I'm going to separate from this completely. Like neither one of them serves me.
Yeah.
Both whether I agree with or I disagree with, it's still casting a shadow in my life. And I don't want shadows. I want light.
Yes. I love that. But I still think there has to be time to hear your own knowledge, right?
I think so, but I believe that it shows up when it's intended to.
Right. But you meditate, right? You take
Yeah.
that time for yourself, you know? And so I think I'm thinking more of the person who doesn't know how to stop, who constantly consumes. Because I was that person where it's like I just was constantly consuming, looking for confidence in other things, looking for creativity in other things. When it wasn't until I like shut it all down and go meditate or go for a walk without music or without a podcast that like all of the answers I was looking for and all the other things flooded in. Now, would I have found the same answers if I didn't learn things? No.
There were no
Right?
answers to be found.
Right. So it's like the learning is still important, but I think there has to be learning seasons. If that makes sense. There has to be learning season and like implementation and or creating seasons, you know?
Can we talk about this? If you're still listening to this podcast, if we haven't bored you to death, I just found a meditation app on my phone that I absolutely love, and it's called Luminate. This is not sponsored. This is just my experience. However, Luminate, if you're listening in, I would love a sponsorship. It's called Luminate, Lumenate. I highly recommend this meditation app. What it does is you turn your phone backwards. By the way, I use an iPhone, so I don't know if it's available for Android, but I'm sure it is. You turn the phone backwards, and it brings you through, all the binaural beats kind of music, all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff that's meditative. Also, what it
Frequencies.
frequencies, right? Also, what it does, Misty, is it flashes your flashlight on your phone, which then creates this tunnel kind of thing. And every time I do it, even if I use the same playlist, it's a different experience. Sometimes I see auras, sometimes I see lights, sometimes I see like tunnel vision. Whatever I'm processing, like it's processing for me, but having the light as well gives you something else to focus on or not focus on, right? So if
Yep.
it's not your breath, if it's not the music, if it's not the light, it gives you something else to focus on. And I find it like easier to pull back because let me tell you about meditation. Meditation isn't about leaving and feeling bad that you left. Meditation is about when you leave, you recognize that you left and you just get back, whether
Right.
that's the breath, but this gives you just another element with the light, like, oh, I can now come back and just focus on the light and the yours. And you kind of do it, which is also neat, is you get to a point, I should say, where you experience the life outside of yourself,
Mhm.
which is what
Yeah,
meditation is,
1,000%.
right?
Yep.
So, so often the reason you're having trouble meditating is because there's some ego connected to it,
Yeah.
but through the practice, you learn what that feels like. And you also learn that you can get out of it quicker. However, sometimes it shows up and you can't break it either. And that happens too, but you
Yeah.
just accept it for what it is. I cannot recommend, if you've never done meditation, I cannot recommend Luminate enough because it's another tool
Yeah. I love that. I've done a candle meditation before. You just stare at the flame.
with your eyes open or closed.
Open.
Okay. Yeah. This one you do with your eyes closed because you'd be blinded otherwise. But
Okay.
But no, that's really cool. I've never heard of that. Really?
Yeah, that was another one we did at one of Andrew's events.
Really?
I told you he gets brought up all the time.
Well, Andrew, he
Yeah.
should be brought up all the time. Andrew's amazing.
Yeah, it puts you almost in, like, a meditative state, just because the flame in general. Yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
pretty cool. That and
Can I do that?
walking meditations are, like, my favorite.
Yeah.
I do well with movement with like,
Mhm.
I have a lot of, like, thoughts that movement helps me kind of, bring them down. Walking meditations are awesome, awesome.
Confession. I was confession and name drop. I apologize for the name drop, but a couple months ago I was interviewing Tabitha Coffee, and she was talking about walking meditation, and I didn't realize it was a practice.
Yes.
Right. So I actually texted her and apologized to her about a week later. I go, I just realized that walking meditation is a practice. I just thought she was talking about meditating while she's walking, but I didn't associate it with a method, or with a Yes, with a method, right? So
Yeah.
I was pretty embarrassed by that, like that I didn't know when she was talking about it. But you know,
It's interesting, it's like a body connection, right? Like, you, like again, you're, like, focusing on, like, where your like, your feet and, like, I don't know, I, like, was my whole body was tingly, like, it was very interesting, very different.
I would definitely love somebody to kind of walk me through my first one, just so I know.
I know a guy.
I know that guy too, and I adore that guy. You know what? I need to bring Andrew on the podcast. We
Yes,
haven't
you
done it in a
do.
we haven't done it in a few years, and I just adore that guy. You know,
Yes,
like once
absolutely
again, I love what he's doing within the industry, for the industry, all the things. I
good.
just
Mhm.
I really really I dig that guy a lot.
Yeah,
He's different in the best of ways. You know.
yeah, yeah, he's doing some cool shit right now.
Yeah. Well, he's a
Mhm,
cool dude. You know. I love watching his journey and stuff as well. You know.
mhm.
That's cool. All right, Miss Money, Misty Jayne, dude. Thank you for hanging out.
Yes, thank you for having me.
We could literally talk for hours and hours here, and only you and I would care.
Right.
But you know, it is what it is. That's awesome, Misty. Thank you so much. I definitely want to keep connecting with you. I really honor our friendship, and I find it
Yes,
sacred.
same.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for everything for the past, I don't know how many years.
When did we meet?
Um,
We
the
met before
first
Hair Love, right?
Yes, because you and Tony invited me to, the
2018.
first Presley Poe?
That was 2019. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
we
yeah.
met
That's right.
then.
We definitely met before that. Didn't we have you on the podcast?
Yeah, you had me on the podcast before that when I was at just I was in a suite, and I think I made a post about how lonely the suite was, and you asked me to
And we
come
chatted
on.
about that. That must have
Yep,
been like 2018. Then it must have been about that same time.
that was 2018.
Amazing. Well, that's awesome. Here we are. What, 8 years into our relationship?
Yep, look at that.
Look at that. Just like that. Just like that, Missy. All right, friend. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you very, very much for joining us on Yo